Hi, I'm back from Nepal. We got back 2 nights ago and want to give you a quick update to give you highlights as quick as I can. I went with my 2 sisters, Barbara and Kaki, and I asked them to listen to my first day's messages so they could meet the pastors and try to get over some jet lag. But they ended up coming every morning. I loved it. I was not expecting this and was totally blown away. They also had a great time with the main pastor's brother-in-law who took them sightseeing. More about that. The hotel we stayed at was small and clean and lovely. Right when you walked in, they greeted you and asked you if you wanted tea or coffee or juice, and everything was free. Overall, Nepali hospitality was incredible. People were so kind and loving. Even the waitress at the local restaurant. We gave her grave reviews because she was so wonderful. I would take Nepali culture over American culture any day. Each morning there was a 30-minute ride to the church in a taxi. The taxi only cost $7, and what was really interesting was the fact that we found out that there are 3 million people in the greater Kathmandu area, and there is not one stop sign or one stoplight. Yes, let me repeat that. You heard that right. Not one stop sign nor one stoplight. They all drove respectfully, and they counted inches like we count feet. While driving, they had to take into consideration not only other cars, but motorbikes and people and children all at the same time. As one taxi cab driver said it, we are a small nation with small people who drive small cars on small roads. That was so true. This is the general area where the church was. It was north of Kathmandu. We had 5 Nepalese pastors and 2 Kenyan pastors. Patrick from Kenya had already been there 4 times, but felt he didn't know the Unveiling Glories material well enough to teach it thoroughly. So he asked me to come alongside and teach it to him and the pastors. This is the whole reason for the trip. The group was small because they all needed to be English speaking. I had very limited time, and translation would have cut that time in half. One of the pastors said to Aaron, the hosting pastor, "Why didn't you invite more pastors? This material is so good." And then he learned that everyone was required to speak English. As I taught, I broke them down into small groups for discussions. It was fun to see my sisters interact with my Kenyan brothers. I began our entire trip together by helping them see the difference between a 6 and a 9. I would put the sheet of paper between the 2 and say, "What do you see?" One person would say, "I see a 6." The other would say, "I see a 9." I'd say, "Who's right?" And it was obvious. They were both right. It just depended upon their perspective. I then told them, I'm going to try to teach you the exact same Bible, but from a different perspective. I am not quoting from any other book. I am quoting from the Bible. But I'm going to teach it to you from a 9 perspective, not a 6 perspective. I then launched into helping them see the glory of God as a central theme in all of God's Word. Because none of the women spoke English, I only had men, but I felt bad for the women who were serving us, so on the 3rd day, I had one of the pastors train the women in the afternoon in light of what he had just learned. This is a great way, in fact, the best way to make disciples, and that's to have them teach what they just learned. 3 of the 5 Nepalese pastors really got it. On the left is Locke, Pastor Locke. On the right is Pastor Aaron, my host pastor, and the middle is Pastor Top. The 2 Kenyan pastors, Patrick and Peter, also walked away with a whole new understanding of their scriptures. All 5 of them are excited to teach it to others. This is the church on Sunday morning. It was a small group of people, but I ended up giving a small sermon on the glory of God and 1 degree off. One highlight was the monkey temple. Yes, there were lots of monkeys all around this Hindu temple, and some of them would actually steal your drink, then actually drink the Coke down. It was hilarious to see. We got to see a lot of these monkeys up close. We could almost touch them. But we also got to see Hindus go through their rituals, and then we met this lovely woman who was selling goods made from the handicap group that she was a part of. Her personality was amazing, and she was a delightful woman. After the training was over, there was only 1 day left for sightseeing for me. We were actually going to fly out that night. But early in the morning, my sisters and I took a 1-hour flight to see Mount Everest up close. It was incredible. It was seeing the glory of God in a spectacular way. Mount Everest is that mountain in the very back. All along the way, you could see camps of people who were trekking up and down the mountain. Overall, I'd give the trip an 8 out of 10. It was only an 8 because one of the pastors, my host pastor Aaron, got sick and missed a day and a half, and another pastor ended up having a family emergency, and he was gone 3 days at the hospital due to that. But overall, they got a whole new perspective on God's word, and we're so thankful.
First of all, I want to thank you, Bob, coming here and teaching 6 and 9 perspective. I actually like how to see the Bible from not from the perspective of 6, but rather perspective from the 9.
First of all, I would like to thank you so much for teaching us how to study the Bible in a perspective of new perspective. That's a 9 perspective. So it is this perspective makes me to understand the Bible in a originally and in a biblical perspective, so that we can teach the salvation which is secure when we believed that will not be lost. Is once we got the salvation, is forever.
First of all, I thank God, and secondly, I would like to thank our Bob for this privilege he have teach us, and it is really important for us. And even in fact, through this only not 6, but 6 and 9. So perspective, yes, that is very important. That is like a wide gate and narrow gate. How it goes to in permanent heaven, and also there is a relationship with God. That is most impact in my life. It is really I thankful to you for these important things you have taught us.
Thank you for all your prayers and fasting. My voice stayed strong. All of our health was good. We didn't lose any luggage. And most importantly, lives were changed. I'm so looking forward to seeing the ripple effect from our time there in the future.